Today, I wanted to talk about Battleship play in 2022. I have been really struggling to figure out how to play this game with Submarine and CV Matchmaker. It's been quite difficult to get my usual aggressive Battleship games in, so playing a little bit more passive today in the Yamato. I really want to learn or relearn how to play this game in 2022. I do think that adding submarines and carriers the way they are does require a dramatic shift in playstyle compared to what I have been doing in the past. It actually reminds me a lot of how I would play and approach matches when I played in Kings of the Sea and Clan Battles, competitive Supremacy League, if you guys remember that. Although Supremacy League was actually much more aggressive because it was, well, tier 8 and before smoke fire penalties, so you could actually have a Bismarck smoke tunnel into the B cap, firing guns blazing, and not be spotted. That was a long time ago, though, so things have been changing over several years, but I do think that it's about time that I, instead of just complaining about the state of the game, I learn how to play it differently. I do really enjoy this game still. I do want to make that very clear. I have a lot of fun with World of Warships. I think it is a very unique game, and I really haven't experienced anything else like it. And I really enjoy it. But for those of you, especially that come and watch my streams on Twitch, you may know I get a little tilted every once in a while. And those streams can quickly devolve into me just complaining and being incredibly harsh on this video game. But I do really like World of Warships still. I like playing this game a lot, and I want to enjoy my time with it. I constantly think about when I'm approaching this game, the initial matches I play, I'm excited to play. I actually do enjoy my first couple games, but then the CV submarine games, some of the issues with certain surface ships, although there's not as many of those, come into play, and then I find myself not really having a very good time. And I don't want that. I want to have fun in this game. I think that's a very important part of video games is fun. It's not all about being hyper competitive. I think there's a large element of fun required in these games since it is a hobby and something that should be done. And as a break from the monotony of life and work and stresses like that, I think it should be fun. And that's what I want it to be and to continue to be for me moving forward. So Battleships in 2022 then, how do you play them? Well, I think it's going to have to start with passive play. I think it's going to have to start with this long-range playstyle where a battleship is not treated as a tank at all. It shouldn't be tanking. That's something crucial about competitive play. I haven't really talked about how I approached competitive play back when I played, but Battleship was set up as long-range crossfire and artillery support. It was there to support the team in, well, bursting down a singular enemy ship. And the overmatch helped, the long-range accuracy certainly helped, and it was really only used as a tank as a last resort. It was used to, well, really secure or try and win back a game in the later stages of a match, where then you'd push a battleship into a cap, into a really highly contested choke point, and try and win that way. But as far as initial positioning goes, using up that HP pool early really set your team at a disadvantage. So I really don't play this way most of the time, and it was really only in competitive that I played like that. And I think that playstyle and that mindset really does need to transfer over for myself to random battles. I think many of you know that I play random battles quite aggressively. And I gotta be honest, the games don't usually work out like you see on this channel. Surprise, surprise, YouTube videos are often cherry-picked best games. If you didn't know, now you do. But my channel, and I think most other YouTubers, do that. I think they're more interesting games. And the games where I just kind of YOLO in, do nothing, and die quickly, or I don't get much damage, they're not as interesting to watch. And there is an element of needing to entertain on YouTube for sure, but I want to also enjoy my time where I'm not, spending 8 out of 10 games feeling bad and dying quickly and getting frustrated. So I do also want to hear from you guys, what you guys think the meta is going to look like coming up this year. and how you specifically are approaching this game in a positive way, hopefully. I'd like to know how you guys are approaching your battleships, your cruisers, your destroyers. All these surface ships really have to learn how to play around these incredibly high impact ships like CVs and submarines, really shaking up the meta and how you have to play your surface ships. So as far as battleships, I do think the starting point is a longer range, more campy playstyle. So Yamato, of course, naturally fits into this very well. Cruisers, on the other hand, that one I'm struggling with a little bit more. I think heavy cruisers can certainly get away with this more passive playstyle since they tend to have more range and better shell velocity at long range, that kind of thing. They do just a little bit more work in this long-range campier meta. Whereas light cruisers like Jinan, for example, I'm having a real tough time of just even getting in range and getting damage out of these games since, well, the passive playstyle is really tough to deal with when your ship is so focused on and designed around stopping people from pushing in, right? Like Jinan has 40 torpedoes potentially launched at around 13-kilometer range. And of course, the main guns base are 14.5 kilometer range and have a very fast fire rate. Do lots of damage with fires, that kind of thing. But if you're never in range of ships, you can't really make use of that. And if people aren't pushing, it's tough to make use of the torpedoes. So I'm not sure how it's going to look moving forward if battleships start to play so passive. A lot of these cruisers are really, really going to struggle. Even my Worcester game that was yesterday, I think I did a really good job that game, but I still had to push in quite aggressively and riskily, right? Of course, that is not the most comfortable position for a light cruiser to be in. Open water pushing into a Kurfürst and a Henry and a Zhao and Perugumo, that kind of thing. Of course, I did have help, and it did manage to work out, but it's not a comfortable position to be in. It's very difficult to pull off stuff like that, I think. Most of the time, things do end up going wrong. As far as destroyers, I'm actually not sure. Part of me thinks DDs will be okay because of their ability to reposition using concealment, you know, potentially getting into aggressive position, using smoke to then start to farm with the HE, use torpedoes that are potentially very long range, like gearing might be a much better pick as we go forward with those pretty good 16.5 kilometer torps that do good damage and are reasonably quick and not too easily spotted. But then again, submarines are really tough for destroyers to deal with. It's kind of odd, but I've had a really difficult time dealing with the submarines since they can just dip away and disappear underwater when I am spotted on the surface and then a bunch of enemy ships shoot at me right away. Because of course that's what we want to do as bigger surface ships. We want to kill the enemy destroyers. So playing that destroyer, it is a little bit tough. So I'm not really sure about that one, but as far as a starting point for battleships, which I do know a little bit better than the other two, I think this more campy playstyle is going to be the way. You'll notice earlier on I was playing more around my carrier, and then later on I pushed up and decided to take this island next to the Buffalo, who again would have some AA to help deal with these carriers. I think the tier 10 carriers can be dealt with a one, probably two friendly ships next to you. That's probably enough overlapping AA to deter a carrier at tier 10. But these super carriers, I'm still not sure what their power level is and how tanky the planes are, but it seems like you might need to clump up with 3 or 4 friendly ships. I think that's really going to be the key to not having a frustrating experience when there's an enemy carrier in the game, at least at higher tiers. Clumping up with your teammates, getting that overlapping AA. Now, of course, overlapping AA is great, but if your entire team lemming trains to one side, that's gonna be an easy way to lose matches. I find that taking only one flank and giving up the entire rest of the map tends to lead to losses, since there's a lot of very easy crossfires that develop when you lose 3/4 of the map. And I don't know how to deal with that. I guess probably the answer is just 3-man div in ships with decent AA, and then you can take whatever flank that your team decides to just give up. But I don't really know. That's why I want to have your input in the comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking of the meta with subs and carriers. Try not to be overly negative. I know I certainly am very pessimistic when it comes to subs and carriers being in the game. But I'd love to know what you think are ways of playing your surface ships, maybe your favorite class, your favorite ship, that you enjoy in World of Warships, how you're approaching that ship now that we have this submarine and carrier playstyle and ships in the game. How are you going to be dealing with that and trying to enjoy your surface ship? I don't really know what I'm going to do yet with some of my brawling battleships, my Kurfürst, Ohio, Preußen, Schlieffen, these kinds of things. Really not sure what I'm going to do with those ones. But as far as more standard battleships, playing with my team, overlapping AA, grouping up to hopefully deal with a submarine when it pops up. We have enough anti-submarine warfare. Those HP pools on those subs will go down eventually. And with this long-range fire support, I'll be trying to pick off targets of opportunity like I've done in this game. We have 2 kills, 132,000 damage. That's a pretty good result for a Yamato. That's in around my averages, I think. I think my average, it's maybe, 130, 140, something like that. I've had this ship quite a while. I think I have over 1,000 games in this thing already, which is kind of crazy to see. I've spent a lot of time in this game. But moving on, there is just one more kill to get in this game, and it is the Shimakaze. So I actually end up with a 4-kill game here, and around that 140,000 damage, which I think is decent. Nothing too special, but I did want to talk about a more passive playstyle, where I think I see battleships going in the future, given this meta. And I want to know how to play in this meta and enjoy myself, because I really do like World of Warships still. So let me know what you're thinking down below. I really do want to hear your input on how you see this game going. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.